Hey y'all, fake weekly wrap up here. It is Saturday, October 31st, and it is Halloween. All right, so as you know, this is kind of what happened last week and what I was reading in the last week. And it's dark enough to record tonight because we sat down, we went out to dinner, socially distanced, of course, and then we watched a movie called The Selling. So it's from, I think it was 2016, and it's the story of a real estate agent who has just purchased a house that is haunted by the 12 ghosts of a man who killed people in the 50s. And he's very honest, and so he's having a hard time selling the property because he doesn't want to tell anyone a lie and that it's not haunted. And it was actually very touching. So part of the reason why he needs to sell this house is because his mom has cancer and they're trying to raise the money for her treatment. And it was funny. It was heartwarming. There were some gruesome parts, which I like, especially in the context of funny and witty things. And I believe, I have to look into this more, but the two leads are the two leads in another movie about the apocalypse, which is named after their last names, Deanne and Divine. Brave the Apocalypse or something like that. And then a couple of the other people who are in this movie are also in that one. So I'm wondering if they're like a little comedy troupe or group or whatever and have done a couple of things. You know, maybe they're the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost of, I don't know, whatever this is. But I liked it. I would recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. So watch that movie and then tell me what you think. So it was a pretty low-key week at work. I actually was presenting at a symposium for the New York State Association of Infant Mental Health about reflective supervision, which is a kind of supervision where it focuses on people being able to think about their thoughts, feelings, and actions in the work of working with young kids. So that was Wednesday and Friday. So I didn't do my regular work thing. I did that. So that means that I kind of had less paperwork, but also had less time for other things. So still got a lot done and also didn't have to see as many people and do as many other meetings. So it was kind of a good week. I painted one of my cigar boxes. I don't think I posted this already. Pretty sure I didn't. So this is what the final products, maybe I showed it as a work in progress earlier this week, maybe, I'm not sure, but it still needs to be sealed. So I'll go over the outside with a clear coat of paint sealer. So I did that. That was an artistic thing I did. And, oh, maybe I did talk about that because I started it on Sunday because my daughter came over and we worked on making the books for the inside of the little fairy library. So I will try and do a zoom in after this and kind of post it so that you can see what it looks like inside there. I feel like I'm showing a lot of chest. I think that's a little bit better. All right. And then I also got a postcard from a Bookstagram friend who got some of these postcards from a friend of hers, and she asked if anybody was interested in getting a postcard. And not that I'm a pack rat or anything, but it's so cute, and it's got a lot of books on here that I really like. 1984, Between the World and Me, Hunger Games, Miss Marvel, the graphic novel, The Lorax. So that was so cool. Thank you so much, Brooke, for sending me this. I do have a card that I will be sending you in exchange from a local Rochester artist. And As soon as I get my poop together, I will be sending that out to Brooke. So thanks so much for that. Let's see. What did I read? Okay. So what I read this last week was Vinegar Girl. So I read it as part of my Read Women book club. And we've actually decided that we're reading women instead of reading women. So the next book might be written by a dude, which will be the first time in a year and a half that we've read a book written by a guy. But anyway, Vinegar Girl is an Ann Tyler, and it's part of a series of books where they had I think it's called the Hogarth series, and they had some, I might say that. Yeah, Hogarth Shakespeare. They had authors redo several of Shakespeare's kind of more popular works. So this one is a retelling of Taming of the Shrew. So if you remember Taming of the Shrew, in the original story, it's kind of a story within a story where there's, a king or whatever, and he's being told the story of this woman, Catherine, who's being courted by a man who has decided that he's going to marry her regardless of whether she wants to be married or not. So she's a very, I guess, like high profile lady who is kind of not nice to people. So she's considered to be a shrew, and he sets out to tame her. When he marries her, really against her will, in the original story, he actually kind of tortures her. Won't let her eat, won't let her leave, won't let her talk to people. And in the end, she gives this long speech about how she believes that women are supposed to be subservient to their men. And he wins the challenge that he and his friends had because they were kind of betting to see whose woman would be more obedient. And Catherine ends up being the most obedient by the end. So that's the original story. In Vinegar Girl, it's set in more of a modern time, although I'm not entirely sure when. There is a young woman, well, she's 28, and she has left university. She hated it. She thought she was better than everyone. She's living at home with her father and her sister, and her father is a microbiologist or something. He's working on viruses, and he has a lab assistant who is on a temporary visa, and he needs someone to marry his lab assistant so the lab assistant can stay in the country. And he thinks that might be a good idea for his daughter, Catherine, to marry her. And she, of course, doesn't want to because she has her own life, and she's really just disgusted at the prospect. Doesn't anybody value me more than this? And no is the answer. So it follows the plot of the original story. As far as I remember, I've seen Taming of the Shrew staged once, and I've seen 10 Things I Hate About You, of course, which is a retelling in a whole different way. Julia Stiles plays the lead in that, is Catherine, and Heath Ledger was the man. And in that version, there is, similar to the original story, the younger sister, Kat's younger sister, Bernice, or Benny, or Bunny, depending on which one you're reading, wants to date and wants to go out and have a good time. And she's not allowed to do that. Dad says, you can't go out until your sister, who is a shrew, agrees to also go out because we need her to be, active. And actually in the 10 Things I Hate About You, Dad is just like, I don't want you going out because you're young and fast. And since your bitchy older sister won't go out with you, you can't go. And so she devises a scheme kind of to get Kat to go, Julia Stiles to go. That happens kind of, that whole thing is a thing in the original story. The younger sister, Dad wants to marry off the younger sister and needs to marry off the older sister first. That isn't what's happening in Vinegar Girl. The younger sister is only 15 and not a prospect to get married, but she does want to be dating and having fun. And Kat, as the older sister who's kind of in charge of the house, is trying to get her to calm down and get away from boys and all of that stuff. So it's interesting because this, like I said, this one follows the plot. Kat does kind of make a speech at the end about being subservient. And it's interesting to think a little bit about it. And I think it's kind of been analyzed up and down because it is Shakespeare, about what it means to be tamed and what it means to be a feminist and all of those kinds of things. In this story, he's not as torturous. He's actually a very nice guy until the day of the wedding, and then he kind of is not as nice. So our book group talked a little bit about kind of the differences in characterization between the two guys. Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You never becomes a jerk. Like we don't ever have to be ambivalent about that. He is trying to date her for money. But we forgive him pretty quickly because he, falls for her. It was the 90s. Was it the 90s? 20s? 2000s? I don't know, but it was one of those movies. We loved him. We loved Heath Ledger. So it's interesting to think about like the young daughter who is sort of this, I want to get married. I want to date, whatever era we're talking about. I want to be with the guy. And she is not obedient by the end of the story. Kat is. So it really is kind of like the original story, when you think about it, is kind of an ad for abusing your women to get them in their place, I guess. I don't really know. But Shakespeare, not my favorite, despite the fact that I've seen it staged. I think I've read a little bit of it. And I've actually seen a lot of staged Shakespeare because Shakespeare in the Park is a thing around here. And there's a Shakespeare company here, and I see a lot of theater. So he's not my favorite, but I do enjoy a retelling, and I do enjoy Shakespeare that makes fun of Shakespeare. So like Something Rotten, the musical, love it. Love it. Anyway, I think I said I put the little books in there. I'll show you that closer. I am most excited right now about this new tea set for one that I got online, of course. And I got tea to go with it. This is a chocolate orange that I'm dripping. And this is my second little pop of it already that I really like. Oh, and I did it better this time. The other one was too strong. I guess that's my week. Happy October being over. Tomorrow is November 1st. I'll see you on the next one.